afternoon. I'm Daniel Guest, and welcome to the Imagine Golf Podcast. This podcast is dedicated to help you get the swing and the game that you've always imagined. Today's episode is brought to you by Imagine Golf and PXG. You can go to our site, imaginegolf.com. You can see all of our offerings there, including our free drills, our practice plans, our free golf ebooks and videos, or to book a lesson with me at our state-of-the-art studio right outside of Philadelphia, or virtually with our partner, thegolfliveapp.com, from anywhere in the world. We're doing more and more virtual lessons. Actually, I'm on pseudo vacation in Cleveland as we speak, and did about 10 lessons since I left, and that was only 2 days ago. So, and you can check out our free tips and videos that go out once a week, every week, by simply dropping us your email. So, well, it is Friday, the day after Thanksgiving, and typically that would be a 4-minute Friday. But I got some extra time on my hands, and I got something that I can't stop thinking about. So I thought, well, hell, why don't we make it into a podcast, right? So we'll continue with the 4-minute Fridays as we normally do, and we'll continue on dropping at least one podcast a week, usually Monday through Wednesday, if you would. But today's podcast is pretty simple, man. Simple on the surface. And now that I think about it, almost everything is simple on the surface, right? But today is about those golf swing analysis groups, right? They're everywhere now, it seems like, right? They're on Facebook, they're on YouTube, they're on Instagram, they're on TikTok. And you just when you think about a golf swing analysis group, right? You know exactly what's going to happen, right? People put a golf swing on or their golf swing on them, and I almost said, asking for a friend, but I don't think people have any shame, right? They put their swing on there, and then they ask people that they don't even know. They don't have any idea what their qualifications are, or lack there of qualifications for that matter. And they ask them, "Hey, what's up with my swing? Give me a few tips." And again, just when you say that out loud, man, I can't even believe it even happens, right? This one group, when doing some research for, I actually joined the group and I monitored it for a couple days. It has 64,000 members, and it's put out there, or the admins of the group is a golf instruction company. Shocker, right? But they're getting all these people's information, 64,000 of them, right? And they put this group out there, the golf swing analysis group. And man, I wrote down right some of the comments, and they're just standard stuff, right? Here they are. The one guy, he's got actually, I thought it was a pretty good swing, but a bunch of the comments were around, "You're swinging too fast, dude," because that's really going to help you. Another one, bring the club more from the inside. I actually think this one was somebody messing with the guy that posted it, because he already had a crazy inside takeaway. So the advice from this guy was, bring the club more from the inside. This is a classic one. You're casting, right? No other information about that other than you're casting. Right? The proverbial turn more. I probably saw that at least 25 times and a couple times. Turn more. You're not turning enough, right? Well, what if you can't turn enough? What good is that, right? And by the way, just turning more, you got a crappy swing and you turn more, you now have a crappy swing that turns a little bit more, right? So those kind of things don't even work, right? Here's the other one that was pervasive, man. You're coming over the top, right? No shit, right? 80% of all you guys listen to this podcast, or 80% of all amateur golfers, I should say, have some form of coming over the top, or some form of slicing, or some form of a combination of the two, right? So I thought that was pretty sound advice. Actually, it is sound advice. You're coming over the top. You could just say that to every single video. You'd be right, 8 or 9 times out of 10. So, but I don't know what you're supposed to do with that stuff. And I guarantee, if I don't know what you're supposed to do with that stuff, the person that is requesting the analysis and getting that analysis, they certainly don't know, what's going on there. So I think it's important to know when you're asking for advice, right? You've got to know your own swing, right? And you've got to have some semblance of what's supposed to transpire in a golf swing. Otherwise, what are you going to do with this advice, right? And I think the other thing, there was a lot of comments in there like, don't do this and don't do that. Look, if you take one thing away from this podcast, is stop saying don't do something, right? There's a reason that when you say to a toddler, right? So let's say up to like 5 years old, right? I guess a 5-year-old wouldn't be a toddler, but let's say up to 5 years old, right? There's a reason that when you say don't, what do you think they do? They go for it, right? Our brains don't function around don't do something, all right? Yeah, consciously, if you say to someone, yeah, don't do this, they get it, they understand it. I'm not saying but that's not the way we learn things, right? You could say to a 3-year-old, hey, don't put your hand up on the stove, you might burn it, right? And fine, 3-year-old hears it, processes everything, but guess what? They put their hand up there on the stove till actually they feel pain, right? So stop saying that to yourself and stop listening to anybody that says, don't do this, don't do that, right? The better thing to tell yourself is exactly what you're trying to do, right? Hey, I'm trying to get my swing to come more from the inside. Hey, I'm trying to swing specifically to 1 o'clock, right? Hey, that was the other comment that I kept seeing. Swing to the right, swing to the right, swing to right field, man. I'm like, holy shit, man. Again, your brain doesn't process any of that. So I think it gets back to a couple different things. One, we got to understand the way that we learn things, right? Only about 2% of all people, 2% can be told something, process it, and put it into place in a swing-like fashion, right? I was thinking of the word, but like a dynamic fashion. Only 2%. So when someone looks at a one-dimensional or two-dimensional video, if you would, or they could be right in front of you. Look at a three-dimensional swing, right? And they say to you, hey, man, don't do this or do that. Only 2% of people can process that and make it work. Only 2%. So just that alone, shit cans almost, any need to have any swing analysis group, right? Not to mention all the crazy drills and fixes people tell you to do, right? I have a bunch of them here I wrote down. This is a classic one. Put a head cover underneath your left arm, right? If I hear that one more time, man, I'm going to choke somebody, right? Put a head cover underneath your arm. Grab a towel and put it underneath both your armpits and swing. Yeah, because that's going to be effective, all right? I already said to swing to right field, right? Don't swing so far back. Don't swing so fast, right? Don't swing so hard, right? Isn't that the thing, right? Isn't that what we're supposed to do? We're supposed to swing fast and hard and make the ball go long and far, right? If you think you're going to swing at 50 miles an hour and make the ball go 250 yards, it ain't going to happen. The ballistics and the physics aren't going to work. So it just kind of cracked me up. But look, we all know the golf swing is very, very, very complex, right? And putting your video on on a forum and asking people that don't know what they're talking about, all right, to give you tips is just not conducive to you getting better. So I wanted to talk about it. The other thing that it cracks me up is a lot of the videos are you can't even I was searching for a word there. You can't even actually see what you need to see, right? If I can't see your hands at the top of the backswing, I can't give you any really good advice. If I can't see you straight down the line and face on, I can't give you any real sound advice. If the camera isn't about chest high, right? I can't give you any sound advice whatsoever. So as a trained professional, if I can't give you sound advice, how is someone in the golf swing analysis group on Instagram going to give you some decent advice, right? It's just not going to happen, right? And by the way, what if they give you even put all that aside, let's say, right? Put all that stuff aside. They gave you some sound advice, but it's not the biggest challenge that you have, right? So we're fixing smaller pieces, parts, but we're not fixing the biggest issue. And again, I say it all the time. If you just say that out loud, that's not a recipe for success. Hank Haney said it famously. You got to fix your big miss first. If you don't fix the big miss, right, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters. So instead of, right, sending your video into a golf swing analysis group, if you would, how about this? How about you spend the next week and just chart what is your big miss, right? I would say half of our new students come to us and say, I'm inconsistent. I'm all over the place. No, you're not, right? No one is all over the place that inconsistent. If I plotted 10,000 shots of any golfer, there would be a distinct pattern to their shots, right? And there'd be a distinctive big miss to their swing. No chances that's not going to happen. I'll give you that it may not be straight down. The misses may not be straight down the fairway, if you would, right? And so for that reason, they think they're all over the place. But you have a big miss in you, and you'd be way better off trying to figure out what that is so that you can go distinctly to work on just that first and foremost, or go get a lesson. Imagine that, and now have some empirical data. Hey man, I took 100 shots. I took 500 shots over the last week, and this is what I found. 78% of them go to the right. All right. 60 some percent of them I hit thin. All right. 59% of them I hit fat. Right. That would be a way better exercise for any one of the 64,000 in the one group I was in than to send in a video and ask for help. There you go. All right. So forget ask. By the way, you wouldn't ask medical help. I guess maybe some people do, but it's not a good sound practice. You wouldn't ask medical help from your mechanic, or at least you shouldn't. You wouldn't ask for tax advice, right, from your golf instructor, right? So what are you doing? All right. I think it reeks of desperation. It reeks of just not sound learning processes, if you would, right? Like no one you can't learn the piano like that. Hey, what am I doing wrong? Right? No, I sent him a video of me playing the piano, in the piano players swinging or piano player analysis group. I show them a video of me playing the piano. Hey, can you fix me? Show me what I'm doing wrong. Tell me what I'm doing wrong. Oh, come on, man. Seriously? All right. It's just not going to work. So if you're in those groups, stop watching it. Right? Oh, by the way, that brings up something else, man. If you watch people that have a bad swing, there's been data that shows that your swing gets worse more so than gets better. Let me say that again. If you watch people with a bad golf swing, your golf swing is likely to get worse. All right. Pros don't do it. Very rarely do you see a pro watch another pro swing, right? And I'm not a big advocate of comparing everything we do to the pros, but when there is a sound practice that they do, we should implement it. There you go. That's one of them, right? You got your playing partner. One of your buddies is a habitual slicer. One of your playing partners or buddies is one of these god awful unorthodox swings, right? And you marvel in even how he even hits the ball, right? And you're watching it. And then 20 seconds later, you're trying to put your swing together down the right path. Right. Again, it's not good. Don't even watch it. Look straight down the fairway, look away, right or left, listen to the ball, and then look and be polite about it and get your game on. But it's not the way to go for certain. One last thing that I want to share with you, right? When we talk about learning, if you would, I mentioned earlier, only 2% of people in the world can take something, right, that was said to them and put it into practice, right? Or excuse me, so break a habit and put it into practice right away and get a positive result in a dynamic movement. It doesn't matter if you're kicking a soccer ball, skating in ice hockey, or hitting a golf ball. It doesn't matter. So knowing that, right, again, if you're not going to do the exercise, right, where you're going to plot what your big miss is or search for your big miss, do an exercise, right, or do some research over that same type of time frame on how people learn. We have a whole podcast on it, but if you don't want to listen to that podcast or it didn't give you enough information, just do a little bit of research on how your brain works, right? Because if you understand how you learn anything, and it's not just by repetition, by the way, but if you understand how you learn, I would say about 90% of the shit that you take in about your golf game, you would shit can. I'm not even joking. You wouldn't even ask for some of the stuff you're doing now, and you certainly wouldn't listen to it, and you'd be a way better golfer for it. How do I know? Because I see it every day. I did a whole podcast on how kids, outshine their adults, the adults, and how quickly they learn because they don't have any preconceived notions. They have very little ego, and they just try to hit the ball, and they listen to what the instructor is saying and what the instructor is showing them and how it feels to do it correctly. And when you do those three things, we say all the time, if you can feel the desired change, well, two things. If you know the desired change you're trying to make and you can feel said desired change, then you can replicate that change. But if you, don't know what you're trying to do distinctly, and B, you can't feel it, there is no chance you're going to have long-lasting success with it. You may be able to do it while the instructor is there, right? And that happens a lot with instructors that don't focus on the correct way to get students to learn a said movement, if you would, right? They get, students say to me all the time when they came from another instructor, hey, I've taken lessons before. They work when I was at the practice tee. They even work sometimes on the lesson, but I could never get them to translate to the golf course. I hear it all the time, right? Our students don't say that. I can guarantee that, right? So here's the thing in closing, figure out, right, what your big miss is. Stop searching, right, in these generic formats, right? And spend some time thinking about and learning about how people or how you specifically learn the game of golf. I guarantee you, if you'll do that, you'll be way happier and your practice time will be way, way, way more productive. I can't emphasize that anymore. All right. All right. Well, listen, I hope you had a great Thanksgiving. I know I did. It's always a great time being around family and friends. I am totally thankful. I can't say it enough. I can't express it enough. I certainly can't, do it enough. I can't hug everybody on the podcast, if you would, but I am eternally grateful for everyone's support. It not only means a lot to me personally, obviously it means a lot to the company, if you would. Be on the lookout for our book coming out. It's not likely going to make it out before the Christmas holiday, but it will definitely be out in January. And you can hit the button, hit the follow button wherever you're listening. I tend to listen on Spotify for these, but we're on all the directories. Be sure to check out imagine.com because there's tons of new things on there all the time. If you haven't downloaded some of our ebooks, I don't know what you're waiting for. They're pretty good. I'm not just saying that because I wrote them. And there's a couple up there that I didn't write that we just have the rights to use them. And check us out on social media. We got a new social media blitz on the platforms going out as we speak. Has been getting a lot of positive results. So here's to getting you the swing and the game that you've always imagined.